Today we're talking about the law of assumption and how you can use it in your life from none other than Neville Goddard himself. And it means that basically anything that you give permission and consent to be true is what will govern your life. That assumption will dictate what you can and what you can't experience. And what does that look like in a real life situation? If I assume that I'm not lovable, that something's wrong with me, then I give that idea authority, consent to be true over me. It's governing me, and I give it permission to be true for me. Then I will literally be dictated by that assumption. Now, it's important to understand that if you've been experiencing like, well, I try to assume that I'm worthy, I assume that I'm lovable, I assume that I'm abundant, and nothing is changing. Surely the law of assumption is bullshit. Well, not so fast. The reason that it's not working is if you really understand what Neville Goddard was talking about in his work, he's talking about a level of consciousness. So it's not just a mental thing that you have an idea to shift the assumption. You're going to have to understand it at a deeper level. But we're going to go over it and exactly how you can start doing this in your life and tap into the power of the law of assumption. But you've got to really understand that this exists in the unconscious realm. And this is what I was experiencing in my life for most of my life. I was assuming that I wasn't good enough, and I was assuming that no one would love me unless, put the addendum in there, I was a people pleaser. I said yes. I was nice to them. I went out of my way to do something so they remember me. Since I assumed it to be true that I couldn't be loved as I was, that is literally all I could experience, the contents of that assumption. I saw life through that idea of me. And so what do we know from Dr. Joe Dispenza? That we're sending out an electromagnetic signature. The electromagnetic signature is energetically connecting to that assumption, meaning that your thoughts, the electrical part, and your feelings, which is what's going to magnetize situations to you. And if you know other Neville Goddard, he said the secret to everything is the feeling, not the mental, not the thought, but the feeling, because your heart is actually way stronger than the electrical impulses of your brain. So what we're going to look at further in this video, and I want to show you so you can start tapping into and applying this to your life, is understanding that it's not a mental assumption. It's literally at the feeling, at the cellular level, and ultimately at the level of consciousness that you'll need to shift so you can step into that new assumption and start electromagnetically sending out the new thoughts and drawing in by feeling those new experiences. Let's break down how you can start to let go of those unconscious assumptions that you may be holding on to. We're going to do our best today because my marker is barely hanging on. So I want to visually show you what I'm talking about. So you as an adult right now, me, everybody on the planet, we have this self-concept. Neville Goddard talks about this heavily. Well, inside that self-concept, what constructs that self-concept are your assumptions. Now, the reason you might not be able to see anything other than the undesired experiences are because your assumptions are filters, okay? They're going to filter out of the 20 to 50 million bits of information that your subconscious is picking up. They're going to filter out everything that doesn't align with your assumptions. Even if your assumptions are, no one will ever love me as I am, or I'm not really worthy of what I want is always running away from me. Whatever that assumption looks like for you, you'll only be able to perceive. So your assumptions are going to filter out everything other than the contents of your self-concept. So you will energetically experience, perceive, and draw to you the equal counterpart to your assumptions. That is the law of assumption. That is why it's so pivotal to start to understand what are you assuming. And another thing to kind of tap into and understand this more is to use the word expect. What am I expecting to happen? For me with relationships, I was expecting people to abandon me. I was expecting, unless I was a really, really good person, then they would leave me. Unless I really was their hero, I served some sort of vital function in helping their life, they would leave me. So that was my assumption. Unless I did more than I am, someone would leave me. So what was I finding in the world? I was filtering out every other person who would love me as I am, whole and complete, because I assumed that I wasn't that. So I found the energetic counterpart and realized the wonderful news about this is that you can change this. You can let go of this. And then that means you can change the filters of what you perceive of. And in my situation, when I did this, I was able to perceive of people who loved and accepted me as I was, as I let go of the assumption that I'm not good enough as I am. When I did that and I assumed differently, I found situations, because those filters are removed. You would be amazed at how much your brain filters out through perceptions and how much understanding and content you have outside your conscious awareness. Now realize you could have a conscious desire to be in a relationship, to be abundant, and you could assume that that's true, but energetically and subconsciously, whatever you assume is going to be what you attract, what you draw in. So your conscious desire, unless your subconscious and your assumptions align with it, there'll be a different experience. You'll want one thing and experience a different one. You can use your conscious awareness to start becoming aware of your assumptions, so you can start to use your willpower to step out of them, to dissolve them, so that your neurological connections start to prune apart and you literally start seeing the world through the set of new assumptions. So let's take a quick look on why you have these assumptions. This represents little you. The ages of from 0, actually the last trimester of your biological mom, to 6 years old, according to Dr. Bruce Lipton, is what's getting programmed in here, your assumptions. And the big thing here is to understand that this heavily had to do with who you needed to be. Who do I need to be accepted by the person who will keep me alive? That could lead to, okay, I can't really be me. I can't have my own voice. Maybe when I say what I really feel, I get reprimanded, I get in trouble, and this person gives me the cold shoulder, or maybe they alienate me, or maybe they spank me, or maybe it gets much worse than that. So I learn, okay, I can't be me and be accepted. So my assumption is I can't be loved as I am. That how I am needs to be edited. If I'm fully me, I'll get hurt. I'll be rejected. So boom, there we go. One assumption could go in there. And you might not be aware of this, because maybe you had to do it so much that you actually started to think, oh, this is who I am. This is how I am. And you reject because you fragmented from this other part. And so this unconscious assumption that I can't really be me and be loved, I better keep that to myself. I better not actually, if I really took a break here, if I went on that vacation or that trip by myself, people might think I'm selfish, or if I don't show up to the birthday because I have really had a hard week, I might be looked down upon, so I better go. So I got to say no to me so I can say yes to other people, because I can't be me. I'm assuming unconsciously I can't be me and be loved and accepted. So that's just one example about what can be stored in your subconscious as an assumption. But what you got to understand here is, okay, as a kid, this person thought, this person's opinions, judgments, or expectations of you, which are not objectively truths of the universe. And I don't know who the person was that took care of you or brought you up. I don't know what their trauma background was. I don't know what their self-concept and their set of assumptions was. But if you don't look back and take your authority of, it was okay for me to be that way. It wasn't okay for that person, but that person, that's their own idea. I can now be me because I keep me safe. I can take care of me. I'm not under the control of somebody else outside of me to take care of me so I will survive. So if you can start taking back that how this person thought you should be is not who you have to be. It's who you had to be in that situation. So the way you felt was valid, absolutely. This original assumption was valid for that experience. But that specific event is now, you're still assuming it, so you're sending out thoughts and feelings and drawing in people and circumstances where they recreate this dynamic. I can't be fully me and be accepted. And you'll find people who are conditional. But when you start to re-reason, when you start to see this differently, you can start to let go of that assumption. And you can start to re-reason that the safest thing you can do for yourself right now is actually fully be yourself. True healing is bringing all the parts of yourself back together again and shifting these outdated assumptions about you and about your true worth, using the complex thinking that you have now as an adult to update that self-concept with all those new different assumptions. The assumption you had of yourself when you were younger, maybe it was, I'm not worthy, because you're an adult in your life who told you that if you were really good, then you would be able to succeed like these other kids, and comparison got modeled into your psyche, and you have assumptions that I'm not as good as this other person. But really, maybe that parent, they meant well, they wanted you to succeed, but they didn't understand how it was actually impacting you. We're not blaming the people early on. They did the best they could. But what we got to understand is your experience and where these assumptions were formed, so that you can shift your perspective, energetically let them go, because you can see that they were actually never real. Your experience was very real, but they were not true about you. When you do that, it will create tremendous space for new assumptions where you can see you are worthy, because worthiness is your birthright. You are good enough. How you do it is uniquely you, and that is a gift to the world. The more you can understand whatever you give permission and consent, become aware of what you've been doing and re-reason on it, let it go energetically, and allow space for that new assumption, because then you can give that consent and permission for it to be true. Not just mentally, but actually shift that level of consciousness. And the way Neville Goddard said to do this is through awareness. Awareness is like a light in a dark room. You bring that awareness, bring that light to what you were unaware of before, so that you can get more clarity and navigate your life from a higher level of consciousness, which literally at the electromagnetic level is sending out a completely different frequency. And what do we say at the beginning of the video? That you will find in life an equal energetic counterpart in your circumstances that is in alignment with whatever energy you're sending out, whatever level of consciousness you are. As you start to become more aware of what has been unconscious, you will be able to then make choices that align with your conscious desires, and you deserve it. If you want to understand how powerful the feeling really is, this next video right here is going to help you understand so you can apply it. Thank you so much for watching. I love y'all. If you like the video, click like. If you haven't done so, join the community, and I will see you on the next one.